view the
Yes,
honor
the
guard.
president is here out of the car. What would be the first activity?
She will be joined by the host, the military host, and they are going to proceed to the honor guard area where the battalion is ready to present the honors.
This is the first part of our program. This is the arrival honors for President Corazon Aquino right here at Borromeo Field at Fort del Pilar. On hand to welcome her are the wife of General Fidel Ramos, Ming Ramos, and the host.
General Ramos himself is the military host during the honor guard.
Host, yes.
The honor guard battalion commander Tina has just given present arms.
You must have heard in the background the regional...
The battalion commander. What he said was that Ginang Pangulo, handa na po ang parangal.
Eric, is this the graduating class already?
No, they're still going to form later during the parade proper. This is actually the arrival honors. This is a traditional ceremony being rendered to the Commander-in-Chief whenever she comes and visit a military unit. And since the PMA, not only a school, but also a military unit by itself, renders its appropriate honors for the Commander-in-Chief.
Security has been very, very tight here at the Philippine Military Academy, but of course this did not dampen the spirit of the members of the Alumni Association, as well as the family members of the cadets who are graduating, and even just tourists who have come around here. But that security is really very, very tight.
Yeah, but Tina, there's still that festive mood around. If you've noticed, even in front of the gates, there were a lot of people waiting. He just said that the honors are finished, and the president is shaking the hand of the battalion, the honor guard battalion commander. A formal welcome to the grounds of PMA. From here on, this unit is going to join the rest of the cadet corps, which is already prepositioned at the back for the graduation parade and AFP Day parade. They're right way to the grandstand to join the other dignitaries, Tina.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor, Her Excellency President Corazon C. Aquino.
President Aquino will now be joining Secretary of National Defense Rafael Leto and Vice President Salvador Raúl. Service commanders are also in attendance. This is in a row of seats right behind the President's area. Members of the Diplomatic Corps here, and some members of President Aquino's cabinet. Next in the program, Eric, is the parade proper. This is part 2, and the first one would be the entrance of troops. Just give us an idea of what happens.
Yes, Tina. In fact, there are some changes, some modifications that, as compared to the usual entrance of troops, because in this case, because of the fact that the honor guard was done right here at Borromeo Field, the rest of the corps has prepositioned itself at the usual positions in the parade ground for the formal parade, while the honor guard battalion is just going to join them, and as we can see, they're marching to their positions. You know, one of the things which are nice about PMA, or being in the military, in fact, is the ceremonies. You know, makes you feel nostalgic about the days here.
This is something I understand that as a cadet here for 4 years, something that you do quite often. How often do you perform or have something like this?
At least twice a week.
Twice a week?
It's on Saturday and Sunday mornings.
Oh, and this is not just for, this is part of your curriculum, or this is just for the performance, for the kids?
The parade proper is just started. That's the adjutant's call being played.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are just the sounding of the adjutant's call. At this moment, the regimental adjutant designates Alpha Company as the base company.
What it means when the adjutant says that Alpha Company is the base company, the rest of the cadet corps, which composed of 8 companies, will align itself with the first company on the right, which is A Company.
What are they saying?
That's Tonton sa kanan or dress right.
The 8 companies are actually the cadets now.
Yes.
Under the lower classmen.
No, all of them.
All of these are
The graduating cadets are the cadet officers.
The regimental adjutant positions himself midway between the line of troops and
That's the whole
commander.
student body of the of the cadet corps. It's called the Cadet Corps Armed Force of the Philippines.
To someone who has not seen this, why is he walking that way?
Well, as we have known, he's the regimental adjutant, and that's called the adjutant strut. The way he moves, he walks.
Adjutant strut?
Yes. Strut.
T-R-O-T?
The battalion adjutants,
Yes.
following the same manner, join the respective battalion staff. Since Alpha Company is the base company, all other companies are aligned with Alpha Company. After having the corps dressed and aligned, the regimental adjutant directs the company guides to take their post in line with the troops.
What are they singing in chorus?
Yeah. Though actually, those 2 guys you heard singing in chorus, as you say it, are actually giving the command guides to take their post. The guides are the platoon sergeants at the both ends of every platoon, and they're the ones who set the markers
The
for the rest
regimental
of the platoon
adjutant
to
directs
follow
the
when they're
troops to execute
positioning during the
present
entrance
arms.
of troops.
A lot of people are really in the dark as to how life is spent here in the Philippine Military Academy. I myself, after having watched all of those footages that was done here, it just is so amazing that I have this idea that all you do here is just study and just do all the programs for your training in the military. Is this how it is? Is it as tough as I think it is?
That the cadet corps is formed.
I cannot guess how tough, when you say tough, it is. But I would say
Let's
that
get an idea. I think they've done something, and let's find out how in the life of a PMA cadet. We're going back to the Borromeo field. We can't seem to have that VTR footage. This is
the adjutant
Eric.
just joined the rest of the regimental staff where he rightly belongs. The cadet corps was just presented to the regimental commander, the first captain, Dina.
And the first captain in the PMA graduating class is carries what distinction?
He's called the first captain, and in our own language, he's called the baron of his class. He's the one there in front.
He gets the position because he is the
Regimental
guest?
commander will give a series of manual of arms.
Yes, there's some criteria which have to be followed in selecting who would become the first captain in every class, and I would say that they get the one who has a combination of the qualities they look for. I'm not really very sure how they did it because I myself, when we were cadets, I didn't know how they did it.
They selected you. You were also...
For a time I was.
Yes.
Yeah, the applause is in appreciation for the proficiency they have just displayed in the Manual of Arms, the first position being right shoulder arms. With one cadet commanding the about 900 strong cadet corps moves in unison. And there goes the applause. That's music to the ears of the cadets, by the way, Tina.
You don't hear that when you're doing it every day with your... who calls the calls most of the time? It's your regimental commander?
Yes.
They just get instructions and orders from him.
Yeah.
But I know that it isn't necessary to have somebody doing it verbally. You have something that you call a silent drill.
That's a different thing, Tina. If you would call it, it's a fancy drill. It's not, the things being done there are not really by the book, you know.
This is more of a choreography.
Choreographed exhibition. That usually gets the biggest applause because it's the hardest thing to do, inspection arms.
Can you just give me an idea of what he's saying? You still
He's
remember?
saying port arms. They look pretty well rehearsed in spite of the unfortunate incident the other day when they were having their dress rehearsal, Dina.
How long do you stay in the field to do this for your graduation? I mean, how many hours of the day are devoted in your...
For drills, you mean?
For
For
drills,
practice, for
yes.
this thing?
especially for your graduation? Do you take more hours, of course? Something like 5 hours of your...
No. You see, our advantage that we do the formal parade, more or less this is the same format, although with modifications towards the latter portion because of the graduation ceremonies and the commencement address of the guest of honor. But basically the format of the parade has been the same from the start, and we do it twice a week. Now for drills of that format, we only have 1 hour. That Tina was the entire cadet corps rendering its traditional honor to the commander-in-chief. Again, a repeat of the 21-gun salute and the playing of the national anthem.
What's next in the program now?
As seems that the first captain heard you, he just said that the corps is ready for review, for trooping the lines. And we can see the command car. We call it the White Carabao among us.
And who's joining the president here?
That is the Chief of Staff, General Fidel V. Ramos. And they're now proceeding to pick up the first captain. And of course, the two vehicles at the back are the respective aides de camp to the President and the Chief of Staff. You can see the presidential standard, the seal of the President in the first. And the 4 stars of General Ramos in the second.
That each grouping here is a company. How many members does it have?
That's about 70 to 90 cadets per company, and that 90 or that 70 to 90 cadets are equally apportioned to the first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. So each company is a composite unit coming from the different years.
And the grouping especially just for this activity?
No, in fact,
or it extends to what?
It extends to, they share a common building where they live, the barracks. They share the same area in the mess hall where they eat together. Actually, Tina, I would say that the company is the substitute of the extended family, since all of these cadets are away from their respective families at home. And the company is encouraged to be the substitute for the extended family, Filipino family.
But that's quite big. I mean, Filipino families are big, but with your lolos and your tias staying with you. But isn't there a smaller unit to the company?
Yeah, of course. What we can see here in the parade formation, there are two platoons to a company, and a platoon is composed of about 3 squads, and a squad is composed of 8 people. So let's say the basic family here is the squad. And the patriarch being the company commander. The president has just finished trooping the lines.
The President Corazon C. Aquino.
That's the regimental commander giving the orders to the callers and the awardees.
Yes, and speaking of awardees, yesterday I watched your alumni parade, and this is your class 1979.
Oh yes.
And how many? Would you have an idea how many of your alumni attended?
The count during the convention in the morning was something like 1,000
1,000
alumni who made it this year.
Yes, and this is really a sight to watch because most of the alumni bring along their families and their loved ones here, and the kids who never saw their fathers march in the field because they weren't born yet will for the first time see their fathers march, and I am surprised that you are still in step even after being out of the academy for quite a while. Is it something that you never let out of your system?
You know, it's something like second nature, because after marching for endless miles and miles and millions of steps during a 4-year stay here, once you hear the bass drum, it goes with the left foot.
And this is the highlight of the AFP, 90th AFP Day, Eric. This is the awarding ceremonies for the AFP awardees. Would you have a list of who these people are?
Yeah, in fact, I have a list here, although I would say that not all of the outstanding AFP personnel, both officers, men and civilian employees, and even an a CMT cadet, are here because, as we know, and probably a lot of them have read in the papers that some of the awardees were injured, and in fact, one died in that unfortunate incident last March 18th.
The audience is requested to stand. Thank you.
General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City. By direction of the President, the Medal for Valor is hereby awarded to First Lieutenant Hilario A. Estrella, O-8007, Philippine Army, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty during an encounter with 200 heavily armed terrorists in Bubuan, Bayog, Zamboanga del Sur on 1 December 1984 as Detachment Commander, Bubuan Detachment Charlie Company, 33rd Infantry Battalion, 1st Infantry Division, Philippine Army. The Medal for Valor is the highest award that can be bestowed upon a military man for gallantry in action. First Lieutenant Estrella is the 80th recipient of this award since 1902. Unfortunately, however, Lieutenant Estrella is not available to receive the award as he was one of those injured during the rehearsal last Wednesday. The award will be presented to him in another appropriate ceremony. The Distinguished Conduct Star is hereby awarded to Captain Francisco J. Villaroman, O-7949, Philippine Constabulary, for conspicuous courage and gallantry during an encounter with superior number of terrorists in the Atagon, Langa, Surigao del Sur on 25 October 1984 as Company Commander, 416th PC Company, Surigao del Sur Constabulary Command. The Distinguished Conduct Star is the second highest military award for gallantry in action. Captain Villaroman is not available to receive the award as he was also one of those injured during the unfortunate incident last Wednesday. The award will be presented to him in another appropriate ceremony.
Captain Villaroman is my classmate, and I understand he was already brought down to Manila He has suffered some thermal
The
burns.
Distinguished Conduct Star is hereby awarded to Staff Sergeant Juanito B. Agustin, 628961, Philippine Army, for conspicuous courage and gallantry during an encounter with overwhelming number of armed subversive terrorists in the Barungan, Ruars, Santo Niño, Cagayan on 25 July 1985 as detachment commander of a platoon detachment of the 21st Infantry Battalion, 5th Infantry Division, Philippine Army. The first bronze Anahaw leaf to the Distinguished Service Star is hereby posthumously awarded to Lieutenant Colonel Armando P. Castro, O-5458, Corps of Professors, General Staff Corps. For eminently meritorious and valuable services rendered in a position of major responsibility as Assistant Chief of Staff for Personnel and Administration, J1, Philippine Military Academy, from 6 January 1986 to 18 March 1987. Next of kin, Mrs. Cecilia V. Castro.
Colonel Castro, being the Assistant Chief of Staff for Personnel and Administration of PMA itself, is the one in
Lieutenant
charge
Colonel
of
Castro
all
was one of the fatalities
this,
during the rehearsal.
the one in charge of all
for the
these award ceremonies.
last Wednesday.
And ironically,
Colonel
he
Castro was awarded his first distinguished
the
service
officer
star
victim,
for eminently meritorious
meaning
and
he
valuable
died during the
services
explosion.
rendered as Assistant Chief of Staff for Education, Training, Research and Development, J5, Philippine Military Academy, from 16 July 1982 to 6 January 1986. The Gold Cross is hereby awarded to First Lieutenant Danny M. Panandigan, O-113687, Philippine Army, for gallantry in action during an encounter with subversive terrorists at Biatugan, San Miguel, Surigao del Sur on 25 December 1985 as platoon leader of a platoon of 2nd Mountain Company, Mountain Battalion, 1st Scout Ranger Regiment, Philippine Army. The Gold Cross is hereby awarded to Petty Officer First Class Heriberto C. Cuevas, 552509, Philippine Navy, for gallantry in action as Detachment Commander of the Coast Guard Detachment at Timonan, Quezon, during an attack by members of the New People's Army on the detachment on 30 July 1985. Petty Officer First Class Cuevas is not available to receive the award. He was one of those seriously injured during the rehearsal. To receive the award for him is Petty Officer Third Class Romeo D. Baruela, Philippine Navy of the Philippine Coast Guard. The Gold Cross is hereby posthumously awarded to Sergeant Bendor R. Ilagan, 590321, Philippine, for gallantry in action during an intelligence operation against subversive terrorists in Bagong Dawis, Baroy, Lanao del Norte on 22 March 1985 as team leader 1202 Alpha Special Operation Team, MiG-12 Intelligence Service, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Next of kin, Mrs. Elea C. Ilagan, wife. Sergeant Elias Insha will receive the award for Mrs. Ilagan on her own request. The Gold Cross is hereby awarded to Sergeant Lilo C. Hardeleza, 644440, Philippine Navy Marines, for gallantry in action during an encounter with armed terrorists in Canlusong, Magalona, Negros del Norte on 31 January 1986 as member of the Composite Reaction Force, Regional Unified Command 6 Assault Team. Sergeant Hardeleza is not available to receive the award. He was also one of those injured last Wednesday. His buddy, Technical Sergeant Rolando Ordoyo, Philippine Army, will receive the award for him on his own request. The Gold Cross is hereby posthumously awarded to Airman First Class Edgardo P. Villanueva, 695682, Philippine Air Force, for gallantry in action during an encounter with subversive terrorists in Bogtong, Barcelona, Sorsogon on 20 April 1986 as member, 5th Civil Relations Group, Civil Relations Service, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Next of kin, Mrs. Esperanza Viuda de Villanueva, wife. The Outstanding Achievement Medal is hereby posthumously awarded to Lieutenant Colonel Rex B. Bakiran, O-5621, Philippine Constabulary, General Staff Corps, for public service of the highest order in the conduct of civil military operations in the province of Kalinga, Apayao, as Special Project Officer of the Civil Relations Service, Armed Forces of the Philippines, from 1 June to 13 September 1986. Next of kin, Mrs. Loretta L. Bakiran, wife. By direction of the President, the kagitingan sa barangay in the degree of Lakan is hereby posthumously awarded to Mr. Ignacio Frias, Integrated Civilian Home Defense Forces, for conspicuous gallantry at the risk of his life beyond the call of duty during a raid on a terrorist-occupied house in Agutayan, Upper Binaangan, Maco, Davao del Norte on 9 April 1986. Next of kin, Mrs. Severina Frias, wife. Mrs. Frias was also injured last Wednesday. She is fortunately well enough to receive the award. The award of the Kagitingan sa Barangay in the degree of Lakan is the highest award that can be bestowed upon a civilian personnel for gallantry in action. Mr. Frias is the 4th recipient of this award since 1973. The Kagitingan sa Barangay in the degree of Datu is hereby posthumously awarded to Mr. Santiago L. Orio, Integrated Civilian Home Defense Forces, for conspicuous courage and gallantry during an attack by subversive terrorists in Cadaragad, Santa Rita, Samar on 28 September 1985. Next of kin, Mrs. Rosita Orio, mother. The award of the Kagitingan sa Barangay in the degree of Datu is the 2nd highest award for a civilian. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Enlisted Man of the Year badge is hereby awarded to Staff Sergeant Edgar G. Leuterio, 653905 Philippine Air Force, 410th Air Material Wing. It is very unfortunate that Staff Sergeant Leuterio was one of the fatalities during the rehearsal last Wednesday. His wife, Mrs. Ann Leuterio, will receive the award. The AFP Enlisted Woman of the Year badge is hereby awarded to Staff Sergeant Elvira C. Sikuya, 682576 Philippine Army, General Headquarters, Headquarters Service Company, detailed with AFP MBAI. Staff Sergeant Sikuya was one of those injured during the rehearsal. Fortunately, she is well enough to be with us today to receive her award. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Citizen Military Training Cadet of the Year badge is hereby awarded to Cadet Colonel Leonardo G. Quinicho. Cadet Quinicho is one of those who were injured last Wednesday. His tactical officer, Second Lieutenant Antonio Eco, Philippine Army inactive, will receive the award for Cadet Quinicho on his request. The AFP Citizen Military Training Cadet of the Year badge is hereby awarded to Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Emma G. Abellana, Philippine Army. Cadet Abellana was also injured during the rehearsal last Wednesday. She is fortunately well enough to receive her award. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Model Civilian Supervisor of the Year plaque and badge is hereby awarded to Miss Aurora S. De Leon of the Office of the Adjutant General. Miss De Leon is not available to receive the award. She was one of the injured last Wednesday. Her award will be presented to her in another appropriate occasion. The AFP Model Civilian Employee of the Year plaque and badge is hereby awarded to Mrs. Eunice C. Oribiana of the AFP Medical Center. Mrs. Oribiana is not also available, being one of those injured. Her award will be presented to her in another appropriate ceremony. By command of General Ramos, Eduardo R. Ermita, Major General AFP, the Deputy Chief of Staff. Official, Julian M. Mala, Colonel PCGSC, the Adjutant General.
That's the authentication of the orders for the awards.
May we request the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Ramos, to stand before the Commander-in-Chief to receive an award.
This is
This is a special award.
and it is not part of the program. This must be something surprise.
We need some help from the MC on stage. He'll have to tell us
Yes.
what this is all about.
I'm sure they have a citation to announce, to explain what this special award is.
The Chief Protocol Officer of Malacanang has just picked up a microphone and he will be reading.
Philippine Legion of Honor, degree of Commander with First Bronze Anahal Leave, is hereby conferred upon General Fidel V. Ramos, AFP. Citation: in his capacity as Vice Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Ramos rendered eminently meritorious and distinguished service to the Republic of the Philippines and the democratic ideals for which it stands. Imbued with a strong sense of duty to those ideals and inspired by the highest idealism, General Ramos, together with then Defense Minister Juan Ponce Enrile, staked his life in a defiant stand against the dictatorship that had thwarted the people's sovereign will and thereby sparked the chain of events that led to the February Revolution and the restoration of Philippine democracy, subsequently defending it against continuing efforts to subvert it. For his courageous and consistent defense of our cherished democratic ideals, he has earned a permanent place in the grateful memory of our race and of all freedom-loving peoples. By virtue of the powers vested in me by the Constitution, I, Corazon C. Aquino, President of the Philippines, do hereby confer upon General Fidel V. Ramos the Philippine Legion of Honor degree of Commander, awarded in Baguio this 22nd day of March in the year of our Lord, 1987. Signed, Corazon C. Aquino.
The Legion of Honor Award is one of the very few awards that only the President can bestow on anyone, and it's only given on very few occasions. And we would say that this is a very memorable day as far as the long career of General Ramos is concerned because of this award.
The awarding ceremony is now over. We are now going to proceed to the turnover ceremonies of the Cadet Corps of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. And this is the... How do you describe this moment? You were telling me yesterday that most of you were in tears or are in tears when this part of the program occurs. This is the turning over of, symbolically, the...
I would say, Tina, that this is not only symbolic turnover, because you see, this graduation parade is the last parade that these young men are going to do with the Cadet Corps as cadets, because as soon as they form themselves and turn over the command and leadership of the cadet corps to the incoming first-class men, they have left their unit, their organization for the past 4 years to
be assigned now to the different
major services.
major services
Yes.
that they have either selected or
Assigned to.
Assigned to. Yes, because this is 149. They can't all be joining the Air Force, can they? So there is a quota system, I understand, where they allocate a certain number
Yes.
for a particular major service.
And that quota would be based on the vacancy for that specific service. Like, so many would join the Army, so many would go to the PC, the Navy, and the Air Force, respectively. And the symbolic tool they would use to signify the turnover is the sword. And we can now hear the old lang syne being played.
The first-class cadets are turning over.
When I was experiencing this during my own time, Tina, you know, I had a feeling that as if all those 4 years were so short a time for me to live.
And have mastered the challenges of being a cadet.
And
Life must go
this
on.
is really a very
The cadet
touching
life for the
ceremony
class
as
of
far as
1987 must eventually
these
end.
young men are concerned.
Members of the class have but one last act before they leave the portals of the academy. They will turn over the reins of power to the PMA Hinirang class of 1988, and the members of the new first class, proud but humble, firmly accept the reins of power. They take over the leadership of the corps, firmly resolved to carry on the grand tradition of those PMAers who have gone before them. And they know that with the aid of divine providence, the members of class of 1988 will, in 1 year's time, be on this field, passing on the reins of leadership once more.
It's now the time for the regimental staff to hand over their swords to the incoming regimental staff after all the other cadet officers there at the back have finished their turnover. And when they have resumed to their positions, it will now be the first captain to hand over the command of this whole Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines to the incoming first captain. You know, Tina, this is also the same as what we see in the papers when certain commanders or even civilian officials would turn over the colors or the standards or the banners of the respective offices to the incoming.
The regimental staff is the highest body in the PMA.
Yes,
This is like a student council
exactly.
in a regular school.
Yes, and the staff is, each member of the staff has a specific area of concern.
And
like
what-
we have the regimental executive officer, who is the second in command to the regimental commander, the regimental adjutant, who's in charge of publishing the orders, and he's the crier of the corps. He's the one who shouts the orders, who gives in behalf of the regimental commander, that is. And now we also have the personnel officer, the training officer, the intelligence officer, and the supply officer. At this point, now we can see that all the members of the class of 1987, the cadets no more and lieutenants not yet, as you may say it, are forming one solid body. And the regimental staff has joined them, and they're going to move center and forward for the commencement exercises. The background music is the plebe song, and as plebes, meaning the first year cadets, it's a reminder that once a plebe, always a plebe. Because
How is that,
I could explain that by saying that these guys now, though they are the most ranking cadets, there in that formation would now be the plebes of the officer corps, because they'll be the youngest, the fresh, the neophytes of the officer corps. So they'd still be plebes when they join the officer corps of the armed forces of the Philippines. And mind you, the feeling of marching in that formation brings back memories and the feeling of fulfillment. And I'm sure parents too would appreciate this.
Yes, and yesterday the parents were able to watch some of the other awarding ceremonies here at the Borromeo Field. They gave out awards to outstanding cadets in the different academic awards, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that was the other day, Tina. Yesterday was Alumni Day, remember?
Oh, yeah, the other day, okay. Now this is now the commencement exercises proper. The formation of the graduating class right in front and the center of the grandstand. They will be called according to their rank in the class of 1987.
Yes. That's the alma mater song. The graduating class, together with the rest of the Cadet Corps, is rendering its last collective salute to the superintendent, who is their commander, while in PMA is their departure call on the superintendent. And after which they're going to be presented to the president. You've noticed in the new set of cadet officers, the third classmen, the new first captain of the corps has taken command and is given the first series of commands.
All present.
Did you hear that?
All members of
PMA Class 87, all present.
the superintendent just presented them to the president. And I think 4 long years deserves this applause. By the way, Tina, on the left of the dignitaries there is, or rather, is that line of some retired and some are still in the active service. These are the former superintendents of PMA. By tradition, they are also honored during this day.
We have an invocation now by the chief chaplain of the AFP.
Please rise. Before we start, let us put ourselves in the presence of God the Almighty and bow our heads in prayer as we proclaim with the words of the psalmist, I will give thanks to you with all my heart, O Lord, for you have answered me. O Almighty and eternal God, in profound humility, we worship and adore you on this significant occasion. We are grateful to you for this opportunity of coming together to witness and honor the joint celebration of the 90th anniversary of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the graduation of Class 1987 of the Philippine Military Academy here at Fort Del Pilar, Baguio City. We thank you, Lord, for enabling the armed forces to serve our country and people with honor and distinction. We thank you, too, that these graduating cadets have happily reached a milestone in their preparation for leadership in our armed forces. We implore you, Lord, to guide them, to choose always that which is good, and to abhor in all circumstances that which is evil. Strengthen their will to always scorn compromise with vice, and to clothe them with courage to stand out when truth and righteousness are in jeopardy. When trials and vicissitudes come their way, preserve them from all dangers. Help them to maintain always the honor of the corps untarnished and unsullied, to find meaning in the realization of the ideals of the Philippine Military Academy in their service to you and our country. We pray, O Lord, that you continue to bless our armed forces to remain steadfast as guardian of peace and protector of our people. May it remain the strong bulwark in generating greater harmony and goodwill for our country. Finally, we pray that our Commander-in-Chief, President Corazon Juanco Aquino, may always be guided and inspired by you, together with the Secretary of National Defense, the Honorable Rafael M. Ileto, and the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Fidel V. Ramos, the Superintendent of the Philippine Military Academy, Brigadier General Biazon, the officers, men, and civilian employees, and all of us here present today, so that at all times we shall live in accordance with your will and your designs for our country, the Philippines. Amen.
Vice President Laurel, Secretary and Mrs. Ileto, General Mrs. Biazon, distinguished members of the Cabinet and their ladies present, Your Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, our colleagues from the armed forces of friendly countries and other foreign guests, other distinguished guests, members of the class of 1987, your proud parents and your sweethearts, Mrs. Ramos, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me to thank from the bottom of my heart our Commander-in-Chief, President Corazon C. Aquino, for this great honor just bestowed upon me by the award of the Philippine Legion of Honor in the degree of Commander. I accept this with pride and humility, not so much for myself, but in behalf of the great majority of the members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines who supported the rebel leaders during the February Revolution, notably former Minister Juan Ponce Enrile, myself, and the regional commanders in the field. To them really belong, to the members of the rank and file, this signal honor. Thank you, Mrs. President. Ladies and gentlemen, a year ago today, a new armed forces of the Philippines rendered its first salute to our new President and Commander-in-Chief. Since then, the men and women who proudly wear the uniform of our armed forces have continued to be in the forefront of our people's quest for greater security, stability, and progress. The power with which our people supported our soldiers during the February 1986 revolution, and which continues to propel our new democracy, is being complemented by the steadfastness of the armed forces of the Philippines. Indeed, the 90 years of the existence of our armed forces since Aguinaldo's Revolutionary Army of 1897 has been distinguished by the constant and faithful defense of the democratic ideal by the overwhelming majority of our soldiers. I count the graduating class of 1987 among them. Our people can continue to rely on that same dedication, steadfastness, and spirit of self-sacrifice of the AFP in the face of the many threats and challenges to our nation's stability. But it is equally vital for our countrymen to reassure the soldier that what he is ready to die for is worthwhile and enduring, and that his sacrifices are appreciated. This calls for mutual support and reciprocity of action between soldier and civilian. Our guest of honor and speaker today exemplifies the spirit of EDSA, which restored the close historic relationship between our people and their soldiers. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to present the Commander-in-Chief, Her Excellency, President Corazon C. Aquino.
Please be seated. Tikas, pahinga. Vice President Laurel, Secretary Ileto, General Ramos, Brigadier General Biason, officers and men of the AFP, PMA cadets and members of the graduating class of 1987, Your Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, fellow workers in government, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. 1 year ago, I stood here and called the graduating class of '86 the proudest in PMA history. That class had gone through a graduating exercise of far greater importance than any held on this field. For the class of '86 had passed the most difficult test of a soldier, the test of his loyalty, the discovery of his highest duty. In the final days of the revolution, the class of '86, torn between literal duty and patriotism, had defected to the people and become the first graduating class of the People's Army. In that class, a young man stood and heard my call to protect the government and the state from any threat, be it internal or external. He heard me explain the difficulty of waging war for a democracy, of fighting for its honor and integrity without violating its principles. Lieutenant Edgardo Dizon answered that difficult call with the unquestioning valor and directness of a soldier. He answered it with his life. I went to the place where he was killed. I talked to his comrades in arms. I learned from them what a true officer he was. His troops had been pinned down by enemy fire. Against the warnings of his troops, he refused to take adequate cover so he could keep a commanding view of his soldiers. He was killed in a hail of enemy bullets. His act defined the first duty of an officer, the duty to take care for the safety of his troops. You who will leave here to command troops of your own, take his stern example to heart. We, the Filipino people, for whose freedom and honor he gave his life, take his sacrifice equally to heart and mourn the loss of a brave Filipino. I had hoped that peace would be the life of our new democracy, as it had been the moving spirit of its restoration. As I came to power peacefully, so had I hoped to keep it. God knows I have tried. But my offers of peace and reconciliation have been met with the most bloody and insolent rejections by the left and the right. It is clear that the forces of the extremes will not leave us in peace to achieve the recovery and progress we so badly need. The latest rejection was made in this field last week. It came in the form of a terrorist bomb, inflicting death and terrible suffering on innocent people in the midst of a most peaceful pursuit, while preparing for an occasion meant for joy and celebration. You, the graduating class of '87, now have your own distinction. During the preparations for your graduation, the PMA was struck by the greatest tragedy in its history. March 18, 1987, will live in our memory as the most treacherous act committed against it by the enemies of democracy. It was a dastardly act of cowardice. We will find the perpetrators, and some of you of the class of '87 will have the privilege of bringing them to justice. And you are the men for it. I have heard how well you responded to the crisis, rushing quickly to aid the wounded. It is fitting also at this point to acknowledge and commend the care and concern that civilians showed in this tragic incident. Doctors and nurses from Baguio General Hospital, St. Louis Hospital, and from as far as Manila responded with equal concern and timely assistance. Soldier and civilian worked together in the face of a common tragedy. You have learned the most important lesson of your entire training. Here, even before your graduation, you had your first encounter with the enemy. Now you know his methods and the evil he can do. You have seen the fate he intends for us, for your president and your people, if he prevails. Such evil passes understanding. I ask those who are responsible for this heinous deed, why is it necessary to go to such extremes? Why is it necessary to kill the innocent? Is nothing sacred anymore? Not the lives of the innocent, nor the sanctity of a school? The enemies of democracy, it is obvious, will not play by any rules. And yet we who stand for the truth can only fight with honor and humanity. That is the difficult challenge of fighting a democratic war. But I know that we are equal to it. The irony of this tragic incident is that it took place here in the very shield of the Republic, meant to protect its government and people. I have gone to many parts of our country, and I have walked freely among our people, protected by little more than their affection. And yet it is here in a military camp that perhaps the greatest threat to my life has been made and the greatest casualties inflicted. Take this lesson also to heart. It is the lesson of EDSA. We are safe only in the affection and loyalty of our people. This field where tradition guarantees the frontline defenders of Philippine democracy was intended by its enemies to be the graveyard of democracy. Let us pledge today to make it the graveyard of their dark ambitions instead. Let us pledge to defeat the ambitions of the left and the right to enslave this nation again and bring down our newfound pride. To the enemy, let me say, give up your futile struggle if you have a drop of humanity and patriotism left in your veins. Democracy is here to stay. It is our people you are killing. We shall spare no effort to protect them. Do not think you can use the rights and liberties, the promises of the Constitution, to destroy the lives and freedom of our people. No provision in the Constitution, let me say this now, will be allowed to prejudice their safety. For the first law of the Constitution is the protection of the people. To our enemies, let me say that nothing will intimidate this president. Death holds Death holds no fear for us, neither for the commander-in-chief nor for the soldier in the line. One nation, one armed forces, acting with the energy and direction of a single hand, will smite the foe on the left and the right and permanently end all threats to freedom before my term as president is over. This is my solemn oath. Last year I said, with a hope of peace in my heart, welcome home, my soldiers. Today I must say, with sadness in my heart, patience and courage, noble soldiers of the Republic. The harvest has not yet come. Our enemies have delayed the peace and progress for which we have worked so hard. The battle has only begun, but the victory will certainly be ours. 90 years of the Armed Forces of the Philippines is our guarantee of this. Congratulations to the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Congratulations to the class of 1987. Carry on. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Magandang umaga at maraming salamat sa inyo. In observance of a time-honored tradition of the Philippine Military Academy, and on the occasion of the graduation of the class of 1987, I, Corazon C. Aquino, President, Republic of the Philippines, and Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Philippines, hereby pardon all outstanding punishments of the Cadet Corps effective this day.
Yes, Tina, that's a special presidential pardon given to the president.
What kind of violations were...
Well, you see, Tina, there are a lot of punishments for a lot of violations of regulations, and one form of punishment is to do punishment tours on Saturday. So that means you cannot go out and watch a movie or not even entertain your friends or visitors. And instead you're walking the tours on the parade ground. And if the president
conferring
she gives a presidential pardon, meaning
Bachelor of Science.
it's an amnesty for them, only for the cadets.
May I first request the parents to stand up?
A very
This is, excuse me, Eric, Secretary Rafael Ileto now calling on the parents to stand proud and listen to Secretary Ileto as he announces the commissioning of the graduates. This was what we were talking about, that they are now lieutenants?
yes, lieutenants or ensigns. Lieutenants for the Army, the Air Force, and the Constabulary, and ensigns for the Navy.
Of the authority
The superintendent is now reading the conferment of the Bachelor of Science degree.
Let's listen to what he says, and then we'll talk about what this is all about.
I hereby declare you graduates of the Philippine Military Academy and confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Science. Congratulations.
Just with a minute of an announcement there, they have just been conferred their Bachelor of Science degree. I wanted to ask you whether any of them had a major subject or a minor subject, like what we have in the university.
Members of class 1987,
Before you answer that question, here's Ileto, Secretary
just graduated. Pursuant to Section 31 of the National Defense Act, as amended, you are hereby commissioned second lieutenant or ensign in the regular force of the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Nanyaring sumunod sa akin sa panunumpa sa katungkulan. Taas ang kanang kamay. Ako si
Commissioned Officers of the
Armed
Forces.
Na itinalaga sa katungkulang bilang ay taintin na nanunumpa. Natutuparin ko ang buong husay at katapatan sa abot ng aking kakayahan ang mga tungkulin ng aking kasalukuyang katungkulan at ang mga iba pang pagkaraan nito'y gagampanan ko sa ilalim ng Republika ng Pilipinas na aking itataguyod at ipagtatanggol ang saligang batas ng Pilipinas na ako'y tunay na mananalig natatalima rito na susundin ko ang mga batas, mga utos na ayon sa batas at mga dekretong pinaiiral na mga sadyang itinakdang may kapangyarihan ng Republika ng Pilipinas. At kusa kong babalikatin ang pananagutang ito na walang anumang pasubali o hangaring umiwas. Patihang nawa ko ng Diyos. Congratulations to all of you.
Eric, just glancing over the list of how many graduates joined each particular service, it would appear that the Philippine Army would have the longest list. Next is the Philippine Constabulary, and then we have the Philippine Navy, and the smallest number of graduates who are joining the Air Force is just about 20. Is there any significance to this?
Yes.
Are there more people inclined to join?
Evangelista,
No, but
magna cum laude.
I would say that this is proportionate to the population of the entire service.
This is now the awarding of the diplomas, and they have just called on the first graduate. He happens to be a magna cum laude, Angel El Evangelista.
The award for the top-notcher cadet is the Presidential Sabre. And the awardee Cadet Evangelista has just received it from the President.
For graduating number 1, in the graduation merit roll of class 1987, considering overall performance in all prescribed courses of instructions and activities for 4 years, the Presidential Sabre, donated by Her Excellency Corazon C. Aquino, President of the Philippines, is hereby awarded to Cadet First Class Angel L. Evangelista. For graduating with the highest overall standing in academics in his
This
4 years of
man
study in the academy,
is going to receive
the Vice
13
Presidential Sabre,
out of the 24
donated by
awards.
His Excellency
So I
Salvador
suppose
Vice President of the Philippines,
they're going to just let him stay until he gets all of the 13 out of the 24.
And noting the 13 that includes the lesser awards. What is being given to him now are the Presidential and the Vice Presidential Sabre. The President's Sabre for being number 1 in everything, and the Vice Presidential is for being number 1 in academics. And these are the major awards which he's received this morning. This is the Secretary of National Defense Sabre. Awardee, Cadet Giovanni Carlo T. Bacordo.
considering overall performance in all prescribed courses of instructions and activities for 4 years, the Secretary of National Defense Sabre, donated by Secretary Rafael M. Mileto, Secretary of National Defense, is hereby awarded to Cadet First Class Giovanni Carlo J. Bacordo. Raul S. Nagrampa, magna cum laude, San Miguel, Iriga City. Guillermo Lorenzo T. Eleazar, cum laude, Tagkawayan, Quezon. Edwin M. Tagima Cruz, Lahug, Cebu City. Debold M. Sinas, Zamboanga City. Liborio P. Carabacan, cum laude, Solano, Nueva Vizcaya. Jose H. Pacaldo Jr., cum laude, Marawi City. Angelito B. Bermudez, Banged, Abra. For graduating as Cadet First Captain and Regimental Commander of the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines during the academic year 1986-1987, the Chief of Staff Sabre is hereby awarded to Cadet First Class Angelito B. Bermudez. Lindon F. Latorre, Catbalogan, Samar. Custodio J. Parcon Jr., Haro, Iloilo City. Errol Valentin G. Hironelia, cum laude, Salcedo, Ilocos Sur. R. Mendoza, Balara, Quezon City.
The school year here in the academy winds up officially today.
Yes.
And when does school year begin?
Well, it begins when the new cadets would come in, come April 1st. It's a tradition that every...
April Fool's Day? They start their classes?
Yeah, incidentally, it's also April Fool's Day, but it doesn't mean anything to us. But the reception day for the incoming plebes, the incoming first-year cadets.
How does one get into the academy? I hear it's very, very tough.
Yes, Tina, the screening and selection of future cadets starts sometime in July when they issue out application forms to all the major schools and provincial commands and military units in the different localities, after which those who would be qualified to take the exams are going to take the written qualifying exams sometime in September, October, and then December they would usually come out with the results, and then those who would pass would undergo a rigid medical and physical screening at the AFP Medical Center to test their physical and medical fitness, and after which they pass, they would come in on April Fool's Day. From a total of about 10,000 or so who would usually take the exam every year, about 200 to 300 cadets are taken in every year.
But you have a graduating class of a total of 149. What happened to the rest of them?
Well, we would say that the academy suffers from one of the highest mortality rates as far as their stay in the academy is concerned, because there are a lot of reasons by which you can
be dismissed from the academy, ranging from, of course, not being able to cope with the
academic requirements,
academic and physical training required here.
Yes.
Just what kind of an academic calendar would you have for a plebe for the first year? What do you go through?
Well, we have a new academic calendar which is going to be implemented come the start of school year 87, 88, and as we've said, it's going to start in April 1st. But this time there's some modifications in the curriculum, even with the schedule, because this time that the starting next year, the whole training will not be confined here in PMA, but it will start for the first year especially at the Army camp at Camp Serviliano Aquino in Tarlac, where these new cadets would undergo the basic soldier recruit training, and such that after 3 or 4 months that they undergo this training, they would be as good as any of the soldiers we graduate from the other military training camps. Yes, so what we can see now is a recap of some of the highlights of this 4-day activity, Tina. We have just seen the superintendent handing over the batch of rings to the graduating members of the graduating class, this proud young man, during their ring hop. And it's one of the age-old traditions where the mother or the girlfriend, whoever is the woman in the life of that cadet, would put on the ring, symbolizing the graduation to the cadet, under, of course, a big mock ring. It's one of the traditions, and it's being looked forward to.
Yes, going back to the academic calendar that you mentioned, I wish we could show to them a program of the academic calendar here in PMA. So you started with the basic recruit training, and this goes on for about 4 months, after which they go back to PMA Baguio and they undergo the academic semester where they're given the regular subjects in college.
Yes, and what is what is unique here is that they don't forget what they learned there. In fact, what is, in addition to being taught the rudiments of soldiery as recruits, they would also be prepared during the basic training. They will be prepared to take, or rather, to face a cadet life, because it's practically a different atmosphere, different set of rules, a different society that you're going to join once you're up here in Baguio. And those 4 months of introduction to a new way of life will have to be put to good use, because you're not only because you're going to have to pass some or undergo academic classes, but as well as you have to learn to participate in all the other cadet activities.
This is the video material we wanted to show you earlier. This is how a what do you call this? Your room?
Yes, this is a typical cadet room in the cadet barracks, and we have shown how neatly they have to fix their things, because you see there are inspections every day, a morning inspection, an afternoon inspection, a Saturday inspection, and you have to shine your buttons and buckles, you have to press your pants and fold your beddings and shine your shoes. And these are some of the cadet uniforms and insignias and items of equipment which they use. Now, you can see now the plebes. This is an example of what they do upon waking up in the morning. They're still in their pajamas. They rise up and fix themselves up.
What time do you wake up on an ordinary day?
An ordinary class day, wake up at 6 o'clock. Well, a few minutes before 6 o'clock, because the first formation starts with the raising of the flag at 6 o'clock. So if you're a plebe especially, you have to do a lot of things. You know, prepare for breakfast, dress up. And of course,
what are they doing?
These are fourth-classmen undergoing some form of
punishment that
a form
of punishment.
Punishment, yes. They're doing, they're sweating it out in the hallways under the close supervision of the yearlings, the second-year cadets, who would normally be the very strict supervisors of these plebes.
Antonio G. Parlade Jr., Caraga, Albay. Fernando
At what year in your stay here would you more or less get the military skills training already?
I would say, Tina, that the military training aspect of the whole 4-year course is composed 1/3 of the whole curriculum. It's only 1/3, so the 2/3 is for academics and others, and 1/3 would be devoted for military science and leadership subjects. Now, as to the emphasis for every year, as we've said, the first year would be the basics, the second year would be on weapons training and familiarization with the different equipment and armaments of the armed forces, and that's usually done during summer at Fort Magsaysay, not here. And third year would mean your orientation tour with the different services, and go on a southern cruise and see different places in the Philippines aboard a Navy ship, and that would form part of your seamanship training, which is also required for all. And the fourth year would entail training, a specialization in probably airborne or ranger courses. But of course, it is not all training and classes and activities which they have to, or duties, if you may call it such, or as we call them, really. We also have our own forms of recreation, like hops. We call our dances hops.
Why?
I really don't know, Tina, but probably a long time ago they used to hop when they dance. And we can also entertain our visitors. That's a flirtation walk.
What is it called? A flirtation walk?
Yes, that's at the right side of this same field that we're in today.
We're in.
And during Saturday afternoons and Sundays, they could walk down the flirtation walk and go around the scenic periphery of Fort del Pilar, and one very special place to go.
It's some place that they've referred to as the Kissing Rock. I've been trying to ask Eric what this is all about, but he's been very secretive about it. But it's what, as the name of the place says, it's the Kissing Rock. If you do agree, if the woman agrees to go with the cadet there, you're in for what it says. It's as simple as that. But other than that, there's no other information available as to what happens in this area.
I think your definition is very safe enough.
Okay, so it's nice to know that you have a lot of recreation.
And
You're telling me
wait,
that you do have a
what
chance
was
to go
being
out.
shown is, you know, a cadet, I mean, a lady visitor wearing a cadet's cap. And there's also tradition attached to it.
What
you
is the tradition? That if I put on your hat, what will happen?
There's a see,
I just
that
like-
just
yeah.
happens.
I think all of you must have created all of these traditions to suit your own needs. Well, anyway, the awarding of the diplomas is going on. This is going to be 149 of them. And we were just taking the opportunity, Eric and myself, to give you an idea of how it is out here. It can be lonely. I can see it when there are no visitors and you're staying here and it's 50 degrees Celsius. I mean, how do you take a break from what I think would be drudgery of doing everything?
Well, with
With
the advent of modern things like TV and Betamax and pool tables, we have these recreation rooms. We call it club rooms. There's a club room for upperclassmen and for firstclassmen, and we have these facilities. And of course, the age-old way of whiling away your idle time to get a break is to write letters. You know, these guys are so proficient in probably writing letters. Because this is one of the things you could easily do by yourself, and you know, in the quiet of the atmosphere and the environment.
Yes, maybe some people don't know that upon entering the Philippine Military Academy, you're a scholar. You do not pay a single centavo out of your own pocket to get inside. It is the government who shoulders the cost of your education here. I'd like to find out how much does it take now to spend for each cadet that's going to spend 4 years here? A year. Would you have an idea?
I'm not really adept with financial things like this, but anyway, during my time, I think I have the idea that they would spend about 50,000 per cadet per year. That was when the dollar was 7 pesos.
So then it must have doubled then, if we can.
At least.
Yes, so that's 100,000 for one cadet. And this is something
this
that we
is
showed
another
last Thursday. This is Evangelista, Cadet Evangelista, the top of his class.
Yeah, and what you see is not the swimming pool of the academy. That's the sundial where we do another tradition. The graduating cadets are thrown by their close cadet subordinate to a dunking ceremony. It's not really retaliation, but it's a form of making you remember the guys, you know, the boys in your group.
Your faculty is a permanent faculty here, or do you get from outside universities?
Oscar R. Astilla, Tacloban City.
Well, it's a combination, Tina. There's a core
of faculty members.
Maybe
the
after
core
that
professors
celebration
who are
and-
the professionals.
If you're seeing some video that doesn't seem to be related to what we're saying, it's perhaps the video that they're running from the OB van, but these were the interviews and the little film clips that we wanted to show to you because you're not here, and it really is a sight to see. But we were talking about the faculty of the Philippine Military Academy. They have a core of faculty in the same manner that you have a core of
engineers and medical corps and nurse corps. And these guys are these officers of the armed forces. They're all commissioned officers. The regular force are the the department heads and the course directors of the different courses offered. And under them are some officers on rotation basis who get assigned here on structured duty from different units in the armed forces and act as instructors for 2, 3, 4 years and callers.
In the course of my very brief stint here in Baguio, stay in Baguio, I have come across a word or a phrase here, and people keep talking about it, that there's something very peculiar here in the academy, and this is the tradition of the honor system. What is it all about?
I would say, Tina, that that tradition, the honor system, it's actually a code. It stems out from a code, and I would say that that's the noblest and the most sacred tradition which these cadets cherish. And it's very simple. It goes like, we the cadets do not cheat, steal, tell a lie, nor tolerate anyone among us who does. And it's absolute, meaning there's no differentiation as to the degree of cheating, stealing, or lying, or toleration that you do among your peers or superiors and subordinates for that matter. And there's only one punishment. It's the punishment comes out of a gentleman's agreement that once you get in, you're accepted to be a member of this very prestigious
Arthur Felix E. Assis.
Provided that you abide by the rules of the game, and the game is not we will abide by this code, and once you violate and once you're found guilty, incidentally, this is a purely cadet matter. No one can interfere in the proceedings of an honor committee which implements this. Everything from the reporting to the trial to the implementation of the punishment.
Rayland
for by
L.
and
Malenab.
with cadets.
And
the punishment is only one. You'll be advised to leave the academy.
Is this honor committee composed of the cadets? They have the police power to do that?
It's not actually police power as is...
Or have you arrested?
No, you don't arrest anyone, but the procedure is that if I know that you have violated some provision in the honor code, I report you. If not, I'm also as guilty as you are. And if you're found guilty,
B. Lardisabal.
you'll be advised
Villamor Air Base, Pasay City.
to resign because you have not come up with your end of the agreement from the very start, which is you will abide by the rules, and these are the rules of the game.
Arnel
Well, I would say
D.
that
Escobar,
this honor
Nabua, Camarines Sur.
code and honor system tradition stems from the very basic concept of training, where which these
Lumer
young
D.
men undergo.
Bernabe,
And this
Zaragoza,
is the
Nueva
basis of
Ecija.
equality. You see, these guys come from different backgrounds. But here, even if they were sons of hacendaros
Christopher
or farmers
C. Lopez,
or
San
a
Quintin,
laborer or
Pangasinan.
fisherman or a carpenter or even a general, you're all equal here. And so you sleep in the same place, you wear
John
the same
D.
uniform,
Luglug,
you study the same
Lagawe,
thing,
Ifugao.
you have what the next guy has, you also have. So there's no reason for anyone to take advantage over the other. And I would say, Tina, that I'm proud to say
Romeo
that this is
M.
probably
Basco,
one of
Lubao,
the
Pampanga.
very few institutions, academic institutions, that the students would take their exams without the supervision of anyone, just themselves. After the lecture, there's a seat
Rosauro
exam.
M.
They
Sarmiento
would,
Jr.,
the
Quezon
instructor would
City.
just say, okay, if there are no more questions, get your questionnaires, and he leaves the room. Last man who finishes, collect the papers, and bring it to the office.
David Q.
It's
Lakdan, Baguio City.
As trusting as that. And mind you, the cadets are very zealously implementing this honor
Cirilito
system
E.
because
Sobejana,
they know that
Negros Oriental.
the very survival of the academy in using that specific concept of training lies on the
Cornelio
nurturing
H.
of
Valencia,
the honor system.
Mandaluyong, Metro Manila.
What other basic, you speak about this basic concept in training here at the academy, what other, if you can call it, other basic ideas
Oh well,
that you
I
learn
would
apart
Rido
from the academic
P. Unay,
and the military
Northern
schools,
Summer.
Yes, the other things which would have a very big bearing on the the very concept of training is, I would say, the fourth class system.
Carlos F.
The fourth class
Gadapan,
system is
Look,
a
Romblon.
set of rules and system of behavior for both upperclassmen and fourth classmen. You know, if you are familiar with fraternities outside, or even in some schools, they
Eric
have
A.
this
Kagawan, Pasig, Metro
seniority
Manila.
system. For our practice here, what is accepted officially, and what we call it the fourth class system, which is the basis of
Erwin
the conduct
A.
of
Diasis, Makati, Metro Manila.
inter-cadet relationship. And I think that is a very helpful tool in conducting such a training.
Francisco A. Villanueva,
Officers.
Botolan, Zambales.
What is it? What is
The
the
fourth
idea
class system.
behind it?
It's a set of rules and defined system
Nathaniel Y.
of
Casel,
how cadets would
Tuguegarao,
deal
Cagayan.
with others, especially as it pertains to a fourth classman vis-a-vis all the rest of the upperclassmen. And this is a very unique.
Nelson S.
So hard to
Uy,
explain this.
Lucena
and
City.
You know that I was reading your magazine and I came across an article about the handshake of recognition, and I was so shocked to find out that a plebe had
Felicissimo
no right
Enrico V.
shaking the
Magsino,
hand of
Tanawan,
anyone,
Batangas.
in the upper class sections.
Yes.
And there is a day that says handshake of recognition, and that's it.
Wilfredo F. Burgoño,
Your
Jr.,
society, so
Fort
to speak.
Bonifacio,
This is
Metro
the
Manila.
graduation ceremonies of class 1987 of the Philippine Military Academy. We're down to the last 30. Are they in
Rodolfo S. Recomono, Jr.,
2, 4, 6,
Marikina,
8?
Metro
We're
Manila.
down to the last 24.
Marcelo C. Morales, Project 4, Quezon City. Rolando D. Legaspi, Dagupan City. Raul Apostol R. Valencia, Quezon City. Henry G. Dar, Moncada, Tarlac. Gerardo S. Cunanan, Lipa City. John P. Campos, Cebu City. Tain T. Banyas, Haro, Iloilo City. Gregorio N. Lim, Moncada, Tarlac. Cristobal N. Zaragoza, Kamalig, Albay. Virgilio B. Bartolome, Alfonso, Cavite. Raul C. Vinoya, Quezon City. Joselito M. Veracruz, Muñoz, Nueva Ecija. Ephraim T. Dixon, San Juan, Abra. Jose Arnaldo Briones Jr., Fort Bonifacio, Metro Manila. Walter M. Partosa, Parañaque, Metro Manila. Gilbert B. Bartolome, Gimba, Nueva Ecija. Henry A. Robinson Jr., Molo, Iloilo City. Sean Anthony U. Villa, Molo, Iloilo City. Noel M. De Vera, Mangaldan, Pangasinan. Eusebio R. Reduble Jr., Tondo, Manila. Carlos T. Corpus, Umingan, Pangasinan. Manolo M. Samarita, San Juan, Batangas. Joselito R. Absalon, San Juan, Iriga City. Vencedor O. Sanson, Quezon City. Alan T. Cuevillas, Tabaco, Albay. Raul S. Ascueta, Cabugao, Ilocos Sur. Dante L. Andres, Quirino, Isabela. Ramon G. Linasan, Silay City. Romel Jason L. Galang, Caloocan City. Odelardo V.
Now,
Magallanes,
is the lighter side of
Malilipot,
ceremonies. This
Albay.
is called the Silent Reel exhibition. You've seen it yesterday, did you?
Yes. And this is the choreographed thing where you said that this was not the precision, but this is also precision.
John Ramon.
Yes.
This is not too precise.
Yeah, because there are a lot of unconventional movements of rifles and body movements they do. And you would be surprised, I hope they would show it later, when they would dance in that.
Yes, they did. To a cha-cha tune and even to a popular...
No, it's a boogie. It's a boogie, and the partners would be their rifles.
William
I hope we see it
A.
later.
Lunday, Kalinga, Apayao.
They are forming numerals and different geometric formations, at the same time performing a lot of
Jumar
fancy
MacArthur Al Tahon,
And it,
Bambang, Nueva Vizcaya.
by the way, not everyone has the oh, there's the cha-cha thing.
Why are they tapping there?
John Cornelius A. Hambora,
Are they
Dumaguete
close to
City.
the last?
They're clapping for the last few cadets, and I will not say who is going to get the loudest applause.
But this
Erwin
is
L.
something
Dano,
that they do,
Kawit, Cavite.
for the last how many?
I think they're down to the last 10 or last 9. They're topping their
Tyrone
shoes.
V.
You
Masigon,
called it
Kalibo,
shaku.
Aklan.
Yeah.
Tomas C. Apolinario Jr., Fort Bonifacio,
Are they the
Metro
most
Manila.
popular?
You probably would say, you could probably say that in the sense that they're very popularly seen during
Sergio
exams.
S.
These are
Sarno,
people who seldom
Santa
get
Maria,
exemptions
Bulacan.
from final examinations. So they must be running around more often than the others.
Joel R. De La Torre,
But I think
Bacolod City.
their applause for this classmates of theirs means that they really appreciate these guys hanging on to the class, so to
Zaldi
speak.
A. Hermida, Macalaya,
They really-
Sorsogon.
Right?
We're
best-
down to the last two.
last
and what
3,
happens
and
when
we're
the
building
last
up
two
the
are formed?
suspense, Tina.
And why? Because?
We will see.
Emmanuel
Okay, let's
B.
watch
Edralin, Mandaluyong, Metro Manila.
It's getting louder. We're tapping their shaku. Now
They're
This-
banging them.
they're bagging them. And
Zosimo S. Menjola, Medellin, Cebu.
See what I mean?
now I know.
In our cadet lingo, he's called a goat. And you just can more or less feel how relieved he must be. Because, there's a saying that being the goat is harder to maintain than that place of now Lieutenant Evangelista. Because if you study more than the usual, you might end up second to the last. And if you relax too much in your studies, you
You'll
might
be out
end
of
up.
the race.
Yes, exactly.
All together. So we've just called on the GOAT, the last in this graduating class of 149 of the Philippine Military Academy.
But mind you, Tina, these guys, the guys who would graduate last, are usually, in many cases, turn out to be very successful in their officer career, because they have they're giving the traditional 3 cheers for the cadet corps, for the rest of the corps whom they are leaving behind. And the cadet corps, which is now being left by their lieutenant graduates, have responded with their own 3 cheers for those who are going to leave them. And they have assumed command. They're taking out their swords, a symbol of control of the corps.
Now that the oaths have been taken, the diplomas have been received, the long gray line of the Hinirang class of 1987 has been formed. They stand for the last time in cadet uniform and yet no longer as cadets. As newly commissioned officers, they will review the cadet corps as it renders a passing review in their honor. Ladies and gentlemen, the rites of passage are completed. The new regimental commander directs the troops to pass in review. With the band playing march music, the troops led by the new regimental commander pass in review before the honoree, Her Excellency Corazon Cuanco Aquino, the class of 1987, and our special guest.
Squad's right was just given as a command to the first company. That's A company. And this time, this specific parade is in honor of these 149 new lieutenants and ensigns of the armed forces of the Philippines. And the Corps of the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines is rendering its honors to the newest members of the Philippine Military Academy Alumni Association. Because next year these guys will not be joining this parade anymore. They will be joining, Tina, the alumni parade.
Howard Cantuano, Quezon City. J.S.R. Sagat, Nueva Ecija. Monica Badre, Pandacan, Manila. Joel Balba, Batangas. Boyd Samala, Manila.